We hope you enjoy this audio-only podcast. You can watch the full video versions on our YouTube channel at All Things Unexplained. There we share visuals, documents, and extended discussions you won't hear anywhere else. While you're there, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new video. Plus, if you subscribe and comment on a video, that will enter you into our giveaways. But for now, enjoy this audio version of All Things Unexplained. This episode is in memory of our friend, Nick Pope.
If we do pick up a message from another civilization, firstly, should we reply? Secondly, who replies? Who speaks for planet Earth? And thirdly, what, if anything, should we say?
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.
All right, Unexplained Ones, it's Dr. Mouse, and welcome back to All Things Unexplained. I've got an update on the Monica, Reza, and General Neil McCasland missing case, as there are new reports of a death to another NASA scientist, and you will not believe what I discovered on how he connects back to Reza and McCasland. But first, if you hadn't hit that subscribe button already, it's the best way to support the show. Plus, if you comment on a video, that will enter you into a chance for our giveaways. More on that at the end of the video. But first, an update on the Monica Reza case. Monica Reza went missing on a hike in the Angeles National Forest in California in June of 2025. And I realized something recently watching a Netflix show called Untamed. Untamed is about a murder in Yosemite National Park, and an investigator for the Park Service starts looking into the mystery. And that kind of blew my mind because I had no idea that the Park Service themselves have their own investigators. So All Things Unexplained, we submitted a FOIA request for records that the National Park Service might have on the Monica Reza disappearance. And we have gotten a response, though it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. So from the USDA, that's the United States Department of Agriculture, the Forest Service, and the Pacific Southwest Region Law Enforcement and Investigations, this is what they sent me. This letter is in response to your Freedom of Information Act request dated March 18th, 2026, and received by the USDA Forest Service Pacific Southwest Region FOIA Service Center on March 19th, 2026. You specifically requested records related to the disappearance of Monica Reza, a 60-year-old hiker reported missing on or about June 22nd, 2025, in the Mount Waterman area of Angeles National Forest, California. Ms. Reza was last seen near Double Delight on the Upper West Ridge Trail after becoming separated from a companion, and was last seen wearing a red long-sleeve shirt. A personal item believed to belong to Ms. Reza, a beanie, was reportedly located in a steep ravine in Devil's Canyon on or about June 23rd, 2025. Now, based on some other cases that All Things Unexplained is looking into, I feel like it's a given that the national parks did have an investigator also looking into this case. But according to their response, Forest Service staff on the Angeles National Forest conducted a search for responsive electronic and hard copy records. No responsive records were identified from that search. The request was then referred to the Pacific Southwest Region Law Enforcement Investigations, LEI, also conducted a search for responsive electronic and hard copy records. No responsive records were identified from that search. Okay, so that is a little puzzling when you first see it, but there are a few reasons why this might have happened, and I have filed a modified appeal for records regarding the case. One of the simplest explanations for why there are no records returned on my Monica Reza request is that Monica Reza also, remember, went by another name. Her professional name was Monica Jacinto. So part of my modified appeal is to search for records on Monica Jacinto. Another explanation, the records may actually be stored with the authority that was in charge of the investigation, and it is my belief, based on publicly available data, that the Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Station was in charge of the investigation. So I have also submitted a request to the Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Station for their records on the Monica Reza Jacinto disappearance. And of course, I'll keep you informed on how that progresses. But now let's pivot onto reports of another mysterious NASA death. At least that's how it's described by the New York Post and many other outlets. The New York Post headline is "Another Mysterious NASA Death as Ninth Scientist Linked to Secret Programs Dies." So especially because they call it a mysterious NASA death, I definitely wanted to look more into this case. The headline would lead you to believe that this death just happened, but we're actually talking about Michael David Hicks, who passed away in 2023 at age 59. Now, at first glance, there is nothing mysterious here, but as you dig a little deeper, you do start to wonder what exactly is going on. Because although you can find an obituary online for Michael David Hicks, you can't find really any other information. The online obituary is with a funeral home website, but as far as the papers go, nothing, absolutely nothing in the papers on Michael David Hicks, ever. I could not find anything ever in the newspapers on Michael David Hicks, even though he was quite a prolific scientist. Michael Hicks did indeed work for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and in that role, his specialty was the study of near-Earth objects, such as asteroids, especially ones that presented a danger to the Earth. Hicks, along with several other scientists from NASA's JPL, co-authored a paper titled Radar and Optical Observations of Asteroid 1998 KY26. Now, it's not a very scary name, and I don't think I've ever heard of Asteroid 1998 KY26, but as I read the paper, I admit I was taken aback by something I read. It says, observations of near-Earth asteroid 1998 KY26 shortly after its discovery reveal a slightly elongated spheroid with a diameter of about 30 meters, a composition analogous to carbonaceous chondritic meteorites, and a rotation period of 10.7 minutes, which is an order of magnitude shorter than that measured for any other solar system object. The rotation is too rapid for 1998 KY26 to consist of multiple components bound together just by their mutual gravitational attraction. This monolithic object probably is a fragment derived from cratering or collisional destruction of a much larger asteroid. So wow, let that sink in for a minute. This asteroid, 1998 KY26, was discovered on May 28, 1998 by Tom Garrels during a routine scanning session for Spacewatch. Here you can see some images from Spacewatch showing the asteroid moving amongst the stars. According to the University of Arizona Lunar and Planetary Laboratory, it says these three pictures are of the same region in space, taken a half hour apart. The asteroid 1998 KY26 is the little dot that moves among the background stars from upper left to lower right in the frames. They go on to say that first, it passed close enough to the Earth for radar observations to be taken, and from light curve measurements, its rotation period, which was calculated to be 10.7 minutes, as I said from the paper, is the fastest rotating asteroid known. In fact, it is the fastest known rotating body in the entire solar system. Not only that, but because of its orbit, this asteroid is the most accessible to spacecraft among those asteroids with well-known orbits. And indeed, there have been space missions to learn more about 1998 KY26. In particular, and quite recently, Japan's Hayabusa 2 did an extended mission targeting asteroid 1998 KY26 for extra study. And at least one of the co-authors with Michael Hicks on that paper I originally discussed has now co-authored another paper on this asteroid from September 18th, 2025, and it's called Hayabusa 2 Extended Mission Target Asteroid 1998 KY26 is smaller and rotating faster than previously known. I'll put the link to that in the show description. And I should say here that the earlier paper by Hicks, Radar and Optical Observations of Asteroid 1998 KY26, which Hicks co-authored with several others from NASA's JPL, I have actually reached out respectfully to some of the other authors of that paper to inquire more about the passing of Michael Hicks. And so far, I have not heard anything back from anyone. Now, fast forward, one of those co-authors, who I'm not going to name here, I don't want to put a spotlight on them, but they continue to study 1998 KY26. And I could have easily just skimmed over this new study, but I didn't. I read through it, and honestly, there were a couple of things in there that shocked me. Number one, 1998 KY26 holds significant relevance for planetary defense, as its size is comparable to the Tunguska and Chelyabinsk impactors. The Tunguska event was a large explosion of between 3 and 50 megatons TNT equivalent near the Tunguska River in Russia on the morning of June 30th, 1908. It represents the largest impact event, even though they've never, to my knowledge, recovered any sort of impact crater. The largest impact event on Earth in recorded history, though much larger impacts are believed to have occurred in prehistoric times. This mysterious incident in the middle of Siberia in 1908 flattened 80 million trees, but as I said, it left no crater. We're still not exactly sure if it was caused by a comet, an asteroid, or something else entirely. Amazingly, so far as I know, no one was killed in the Tunguska event because that part of Siberia was hardly populated. The native people, however, that lived close enough to the event do remember a huge explosion and flash in the sky. So 1998 KY26, extremely important in terms of planetary defense. The next thing that really struck me from this paper is that 1998 KY26 has been observed to exhibit out-of-plane non-gravitational accelerations. Wait, what? New studies on this asteroid show accelerations? Well, to clarify, it says that some authors have attributed these forces to outgassing models, although there is no evidence of coma or dust tail that has ever been observed, leading to the classification of 1998 KY26 as a member of the so-called inner dark comets. I had to look up exactly what are inner dark comets. They are a recently identified class of small near-Earth objects that resemble asteroids but exhibit comet-like non-gravitational acceleration. Unlike outer dark comets, inner dark comets are notably smaller, often only tens of meters or less in diameter, and they travel in nearly circular, low eccentricity orbits within the inner solar system, sharing the same general region as Earth, Venus, and Mars. Okay, so 1998 KY26, it's accelerating, and nobody knows why. And it reminds scientists a lot of what happened in Tunguska. That's pretty scary right there. And that's the asteroid that Michael Hicks was studying. Michael Hicks was also involved with something called DART, that is NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test. It was the first ever mission to intentionally deflect an asteroid, proving the kinetic impactor technique for planetary defense. DART was the first ever mission dedicated to investigating and demonstrating one method of asteroid deflection by changing an asteroid's motion in space through kinetic impact. So NASA was literally testing and trying to figure out if they had the ability to save Earth from an asteroid apocalypse. So DART essentially was a spacecraft that navigated to collide with an asteroid to alter its course, which could provide, this is from NASA, a potential defense against future Earth-bound threats. It targeted an object called Dimorphos, a small moon approximately 530 feet across, orbiting the asteroid Didymos, which is approximately half a mile across. DART slammed into Dimorphos at over 14,000 miles per hour. The impact was significantly enhanced by the massive amount of debris thrown into space, which helped push the asteroid. As a result, Dimorphos's orbital period was shortened from 11 hours and 55 minutes to 11 hours and 23 minutes, proving the effectiveness of the kinetic impact method. And this is how Higgs might be associated with Reza and McCasland. Remember, Reza, who also went by Jacinto, co-invented a superalloy called Mondalloy. That alloy was picked up for development by Aerojet Rocketdyne. Aerojet Rocketdyne also supplies propulsion systems for NASA and JPL missions like planetary defense missions. Something like DART would rely on launch vehicles, spacecraft propulsion systems, and navigation and targeting by folks like JPL. And Aerojet's role here would be to provide thrusters and propulsion components used to get these spacecraft into orbit. That is where the superalloy Mondalloy comes into play, because it has the ability to survive these incredibly high heat environments. So let's do a quick recap here. First, my Reza update. I reached out to the Parks Service. They had no records. So I'm reaching out to the Sheriff's Department that was probably in charge, and I modified my FOIA request. There are reports of a mysterious death of another scientist. His name is Michael David Hicks. He passed away in 2023. He was studying asteroid 1998 KY26, which just so happens to be unlike any other asteroid that we know about. It's spinning faster than any other known object. And 1998 KY26 is extremely important for its scientific significance for planetary defense. It's comparable to the object that caused the Tunguska event. It is exhibiting non-gravitational acceleration that scientists have no explanation for. That sounds fantastical, but that's not speculation. That's from the studies. And now NASA, and maybe others, are working on different types of planetary defense from objects like 1998 KY26. And we know that Aerojet Rocketdyne, which developed superalloy Mondalloy, is involved in the propulsion systems needed to get planetary defense craft off the Earth. And remember, we know that General Neil McCasland, who went missing in February from his Albuquerque home, was in charge of the Air Force research laboratories as they were developing Mondalloy. And we know that Reza's co-inventor of Mondalloy, Dallas Ann Hardwick, who sadly passed in 2014 from stage 4 breast cancer, she was integrally involved with the AFRL. Now, just a little side note there. I want to bring this up because it's there. Michael David Hicks was 59 years old when he passed away. I don't know what happened. Could have been a car accident. Sometimes you hear about people who unexpectedly pass and they have cancer. But Dallas Ann Hardwick, who co-invented Mondalloy, discovered stage 4 breast cancer, and she passed away soon after that. As I was looking to reach out to other scientists who co-authored this paper with Michael Hicks, radar and optical observations of asteroid 1998 KY26, I was a little disturbed to see that some of those co-authors are passed as well, and some from cancer. Now, according to recent statistics, the U.S. age-adjusted cancer death rate is approximately 143 per 100,000 people. So I will say that here, within this small sphere of people that we're discussing, there are multiple cases of cancer deaths. Now, I don't want to make anything super conspiratorial out of that, But I live in central North Carolina where, for example, there is a case at North Carolina State University of one particular building linked to many cases of cancer. So the fact that we do have multiple people here within this small circle, I think it does bear mentioning. Remember, the best way you can support All Things Unexplained is by hitting the subscribe button and commenting on the videos. Plus, you'll be entered into a chance for our giveaways. We've got a lot of great things we're giving away, like signed book from Stephen King multiverse author Bev Vincent. We've got signed Preparing to Survive in the Age of Collapse by Colonel Drew Miller. We've got signed Disney mystery books by David Coding, who will be joining us on All Things Unexplained soon. We've got signed Patricia Cornwell books. Don't forget to check out All Things Unexplained in the New York Times bestselling Identity Unknown by Patricia Cornwell. Yep, we're on page 164. And a little blatant self-promotion. I've got a new children's book coming out this fall, The Legend of Squatchy Hollow, A Tale of the Jack-o'-Squatch. Okay, Unexplained ones, stay tuned as I expect many more updates to follow soon on the Reza and McCasland disappearances. But for now, get off your screens for a little while, head out into the woods, look up at the sky. You may not find a Bigfoot, you may not spot a UFO, but you might just find something even more important out there, and that's yourself. Take care, everybody.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that I think, sir, will save for closed session.